This is Zen Light Mike, and this is Music Theory from the Beginning. This is episode 3, Chords and Intervals. So, in this episode, I don't have a script, and I don't know how long this will take. I have to do this. For you, for me, I have to do it because I committed to doing it and I haven't gotten it done and I need to get it done. And after I do this, I've come to find out I'm not going to get it done perfectly. No. And after I've done it, then maybe I'm going to do it again with a script. Maybe I'm going to do it a third time. I've done several things twice. I haven't yet gone and done episode 1 and 2 the third time, but I plan on that. There will be more. I saw a video from a guy who had just added another video to his channel 6 years later. He did a series of videos 6 years ago, and then he did nothing. And he just sit there. And I realized, I'm going to keep doing this. I'm going to keep making videos. I'm going to keep covering the same ground, a lot of the same ground. But then if you watch music, theory, videos on music theory, gosh, they just do them over and over and over again. So, so I'm going to get this done. So let's go, and I'm going to switch everything over to here. And there we've got it. All right, so now I'm okay. So I need to, okay. It says it's going to capture my cursor, but I don't see the cursor. Okay. All right. Okay, that's working. Oh, there's my cursor. Okay, got it. All right. All right, so here we go. So we're going to start off. We have already talked about the octave, and we said that that was the basis, the beginning of music theory, that this was a note that was so consonant that it seemed to blend into the other note. Turned out that it's the first overtone of the fundamental note. Turns out that between the octave, the fundamental, and the octave, you can find 7 other notes that have simple harmonic relationships. This is not something that's picked at random. These relationships, these harmonic relationships exist. And they were found before science could explain the wave theory that makes it mathematically simple to understand. But our ears understood the simple harmonic relationships between fundamental, octave, perfect fifth, perfect fourth, major third, major sixth. Okay, and the other 2 are the major second and the major seventh. Okay, so we will be learning more about intervals than we have yet. Okay, so in this first chart, we see what you've seen before in my others. So then I covered the musical alphabet. They're very important to understand. We don't have 7 or 8, we have 12. In fact, really we have 13. So when you talk about 7, you always repeat the first note. Always. I don't care what scale you're using. I don't care what mode you're using. You always repeat the first note. It's a circle. You always think of it as a circle. Okay, so here's our 12 chromatic notes plus We started on C, so we're going to repeat C. So there's really 13 notes. There are 12 intervals in an octave. So if I start on C and I go 12 frets up, one half step, one interval, and one fret are the same. And when I say one interval, I'm talking about the fundamental, the smallest interval, the building block, the half step. One half step and one fret are the same. So if we go 12 frets up, we have the same note. All right, so now let's talk about what came next. That was the keys. When we start on any note of the chromatic scale, and we take the octave, and we find these harmonic notes that have the simple relationship, we find out that we have 12 keys. And the way they're named, we can have 15 key signatures. That's not the same because three of the keys have two names. They're called enharmonic. Right here you can see C sharp, D flat. Exact same note. You could play that note all day long and say, oh, I'm playing a C sharp, and then say, oh, now I'm playing a D flat. It's not two different notes. We don't hear two. I actually heard someone say, somebody who's really, really good at music theory. I listened to his videos. He actually said, you hear this in two different modes. No, you don't. You hear the exact same thing. You think of it. You can think of what you're hearing in two different modes. You can describe it as an A harmonic minor, or you can describe it as the E Phrygian dominant. Yeah, right? You can describe it as in two different ways, but you only hear one thing. This is very important to understand. Music is about hearing. So people get all caught up in this descriptive stuff and this theory. Okay, it's just a theory. They're just words so we can talk about it. No matter what you call this note, it is a single note. No matter what you call the three harmonic, enharmonic keys, there's only one key. F sharp, G flat, it's only one key. I can call it the key of F sharp. I can call it the key of G flat, but it's only one key. Moving on. So now, here's what we have next. We are going to enter our major scale formula. We've seen this before. 2-2-1, 2-2-2-1. Eventually, this is burned into our head. Okay? Scale degrees. First, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, and first. We learned that in creating our keys. But now let me say, now we're talking not about keys. We are talking about scales or modes. What's the difference? Well, there really is only one difference. The difference is a scale or a mode starts on a certain note and a key doesn't care. A key is just the set of 7. You can start anywhere you want. They stay in the same order, but it doesn't matter where you start. Okay, now we're going to talk about the C major scale. Yeah, it's the same as the key of C, but we're not talking about the key of C. We're talking about the C major scale, or the mode of C Ionian. This is a mode. This is not a key. This is a mode because we're starting on C, and that's our tonal center. Now we're going to make our chord. We're going to make the one major chord, the C major chord. What we do is we take our root is our C, the first. Now we're going to skip the second and we're going to take the third. This is how we build all chords. We take the first, the third, skip again, and the fifth. And that is our one major chord, C, E, G. Now look, this is called a major triad. Why is it major? Simply because this is a third followed by a third. The first third is major, and therefore it's a major chord. Now, let's look closer at this. When I said we start on C and we go up 12 half steps, that's counting. Watch. Watch my cursor. 1. I didn't count this. 1, I go up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. There's actually 13 notes. I'm going up. When I talk about intervals or frets, I'm talking about going up, counting, okay? When I'm talking chords, watch what happens. This is a third. 1, 2, wait a minute. 1, 2. See, it's not counting. It's not the same. First place, second place, third place. Okay? It's like, it's the difference between ordinal and cardinal numbers. I know. Oh my God, I learned that in 3rd grade and I never got over it. I never remembered it. Yeah, forget it. It doesn't matter which one is which. You don't have to remember it. Okay, just remember, this is counting. This is places. First place, second place, third place. It's very important, otherwise you get confused because later you start trying to manipulate these in your mind or even writing them down on paper, and you have to understand the difference. First, second, third. My third is only 2 notes higher. My fifth is 4 notes higher. First, second, third, fourth, fifth. 1, 2, 3, 4. I've only moved up 4 notes, but I started here because it's place. First place, third place, fifth place. These are positions. We're not moving. This is moving. I'm moving up 12 half steps to counting. Here is position. First position, third position, fifth position. That's how I'm going to make all my chords. Now, a chord is a minimum of 3 notes. Yeah, we'll get to it. If you know anything about power chords, you're saying, wait a minute, we'll talk about power chords. Technically, this is harmony. Chords create harmony. And technically, it has been defined that a chord is made out of 3 notes, 3 or more notes. All right, now, so root, third, fifth. We will see that over and over again. Major third is 1, 2, 3, 4 half steps. A minor third is 1, 2, 3 half steps. All right. Now, let's add the 7th. What's a 7th? Well, remember position, first, third, fifth, 7th. That's all a 7 chord is. It adds the last chord, or the last note. Now, because you're skipping notes, this is the note just before you get back to your root note. So this is as many notes as you can add in a chord. Oh no. Remember the circle? It goes up another octave. Well, if you're talking a piano or an orchestra, it can go up a lot more than 1 octave. Even just the guitar covers, what, 4, 5 octaves? Anyway, I should know that, but not right off the top of my head, and that's not the discussion here. So I'm going to, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, 5 octaves. Okay, so here we go. We add the 5th. Now, this is, or the 7th, I'm sorry, the 7th. Now, this, we will now look at this. Notice that you have a major chord because your first triad is major. Now, because a perfect 5th is 7 half steps, I'm getting ahead of myself. For now, we're just going to look at the fact that it's a major third and a minor third. 4 half steps, 3 half steps. Now, in the one major chord, your 7 note is another major third, 4 half steps. Notice it is just a leading tone behind the octave. Now that's important. This is a major 7th, and it is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 half steps. A major 7th is 11 half steps. Now we're going to build our 2 minor. No, we're not going to go through the whole thing. But we've done 1 major, and then we're going to do 1 minor. Okay, I'm sorry. A single major chord and a single minor chord. This is not the 1 minor. This is the 2 minor chord. It's music. You got to be very careful. People aren't always really careful when they use terms in music, but we really need to be. It's just like that. The guy who I listened to yesterday talking about the A harmonic minor scale and the E Phrygian dominant, and saying that you're hearing 2 different modes. No, you're not. No, you're not. They're the same set of notes. They're the same set of notes. And in fact, we weren't even talking about, we were talking about 2 different songs or the same song, and they simply started, they focused on 1 note, and then later in the song they focused on another note, a different note, the 1st and the 5th. You didn't hear 2 different modes. You heard 1 set of 7 notes being used throughout the song. Now, how do you describe it? And I just can't emphasize that enough. That all this stuff I'm talking about has nothing to do with the music that we hear. It's a intellectual construct so that we can talk about it, so that we can analyze it. But you can make the music without any of this. Now, it does help in a number of ways, and I'm finding out more ways that it helps. Main reason I'm doing this is because I like it. I used to do math. I used to do algebra as a puzzle. As an adult, way after high school and college, I bought a used college textbook on algebra and worked the problems for fun. Yeah, so all right, so here we are. So now notice our scale degrees are the same. Notice I've got my chromatic scale starting from D now, just because I've shifted. It's the same scale. This is still the 2nd degree. It's still the C major scale. This is the 2nd degree. This is the 1st degree. I've only shifted. I've shifted because it's easier. However, this is still called the root of my chord. And when we get into modes, we can see that this whole concept kind of spins. For now, just understand that this is still the C major scale, and this is the root of the chord. Then we take its third. See, it's third. Wait a minute, this is the fourth, yeah. This is the fourth position in the C major scale, but it's the third, first, second, third. If this is the root, this is the third starting from D, first, second, third. So D uses the second and fourth, and you guessed it, you skip the sixth. It uses the second and the fourth and the sixth scale degrees of the C major scale, but it's the root, third, and fifth. Now, notice this difference. This is a minor triad. All major triads have a major, minor. All minor triads have a minor, major. Starts with minor, it's a minor chord. Starts with major, it's a major chord. Now, we will get into, and I've already mentioned the seventh, so I might as well, let's add the seventh, bang, okay? First, third, fifth, seventh. Okay, this is the seventh. However, notice that it is 2 half steps behind. So if this is 12, 11, 10, this is 10. We can verify this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, this is a chart. I copied and pasted these charts. These are all the same number of little squares here. I did that on purpose, partly because it was easier to make these charts, but partly because you keep seeing the exact same thing, and then it's so hard to understand when people talk about it. But see, I've put it into relative positions. These spaces are here in this chord. This chord has, in the C major scale, this chord has one note, or these two notes have one note between in the C major scale. But in the chromatic scale, these notes have 2 notes in between them. This is 1, 2, 3 half steps apart. This is 1, 2, 3, 4 half steps apart. And now we see that this is 3. See, 3 and 4 is 7. And 3 is 10. This was 10. Now, if we go back, notice 4 and 3 is 7. Our seventh, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Our fifth is 7 half steps. A major third is 4 half steps, and a minor third is 3 half steps. So now, in a major chord, it was 4 and 3 equals 7 half steps for the fifth. In a minor chord, it's 3. Instead of 4 and 3, it's 3 and 4 equals 7 half steps for our fifth. It's a perfect fifth. I've heard different theories on why you call them a perfect fifth and a perfect fourth. But really, it's just as simple as you've got a major and a minor third. But whether it's major or minor, your fifth is always the same. Now we will see that there's one exception to that in a normal 12 keys. In the 12 keys, now you get into harmonic minor, melodic minor, you get into the scales of other countries or scales of jazz. There's all sorts of scales that can be built that don't go beyond the standard 12 keys of traditional Western music. So that's what we're talking about. All right. So we will see this is 7. It's perfect. Both major and minor. This is 7 half steps. A fourth, well, let's get to that. Okay, am I at the end? No, not yet. Okay. Oh, yeah, so I'm talking about chords. So now I've covered the major and minor triads and the major and minor sevenths. A minor chord with the fourth note, with the seventh added. That seventh is a minor seventh. You'll hear people call it a dominant seventh. That's not correct. Dominant means the 5th degree. This is your dominant. In the key of G, or the key of C, G is your dominant. I don't care if you're talking about a triad or a 4-note chord. I don't care if you're talking about the note. This is the dominant. Position. Dominant means position. It doesn't mean chord. It doesn't mean chord structure. It doesn't mean the number of notes in a chord. It's position. Okay, remember, this was the tonic. This is the supertonic. This is the mediant, the subdominant, the dominant, the submediant, submediant, the leading tone, or the well, this is a leading tone. If it were here, then it would be the subtonic. Those names come from what's called functional harmony, and it discusses how these chords and notes act because of their relative positions. So that's where the name dominant comes from. So let's go back. This is not a dominant seventh. This is a minor seventh. This in fact is a D minor seventh. Now, it's D minor with a minor seventh. We don't say D minor minor seventh. We just say D minor seventh. But the minor applies to both the chord and the seventh. This major seventh is a C major seventh. It's the exact same thing. C major, major seventh. We don't say C major, major seventh. It's a C major chord with a major seventh. C major seventh means that the seventh is 1/2 step below the octave of the root. Right here, this is the root, this is its octave, and here is the 7th degree note. This is 2/2 steps. It's a minor seventh. Okay, so I've been yapping along for 28 minutes, and oh my God, yeah, no wonder I create scripts and redo these. All right, so the chords that are neither major nor minor. All right, we have a power chord. Technically, it's not a chord, but rock and roll turned it into a chord. A power chord is neither major or minor because it doesn't have a third. It just has a fifth. That's all. That's what a power chord is. And what's so cool about it is on guitar, all you have to do is go one string and, well, all right, here, let me see if I can, guitar view. Here we go. Oh. What's going on here? Okay, turn that off. Turn. While I don't know what's going on, I had to rebuild a couple of my other scenes because it wouldn't show my camera. It wouldn't show. Now, I don't know. I don't know what's okay. So I can try this, and then re-add it while I'm. This is ridiculous. There it is. And now I have to go through all this monkey business of rebuilding it or repositioning it. Oh. Okay. Wow. Okay. Now it's below where I want it. Now let's see. Okay, before I'd love to say I'm sorry about this, but I guess not really. Let's see if I can get this. We can kill some of this. Oh. Okay, so I don't know why my all my scenes were corrupt. Oh, right. What do I think I'm doing? Okay, I don't know. I gotta tell you, I have. Okay. All right, there we go. I'm sorry. All right, so now I can pick up my guitar and you can see it. I don't understand why my scenes were corrupted. Okay, so right here, let's just. Okay, that's a G. If I go one next string from the 6 to the 5, that's 5 half steps. I can prove it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. C. C. 5 half steps. So that's 5 half steps. Now remember I said a perfect fifth was 7 half steps, so there's 5, 6, 7. You can do it on this string too. It'll work all the way down until you hit the 3, 2. That's only 4 half steps. From 3 to 2, from 3 to 2 is only 4 half steps. But the rest of them are 5. So if I go from here, so there. So that's your power chord. Now you can move it down and you still got a power chord. Move it down one more time, you still got a power chord. That must be out of tune. I'm going to guess that's out of tune. That sounds terrible. Remember when I talked about the simple harmonic relationships? You can do the math. and figure it out. You don't need to do math to hear that. Oh yeah, that's very sharp. And that's flat. See, that's a little flat and that's a little sharp. So there's this huge difference. Huge difference. So if I were to bring that down, and this up, nylon, that's what I get for using nylon. I got steel. It's late at night. Everybody's asleep. Okay, so do that again. See? So still a little. The C, the F's good now, but the C is still sharp. There it is. Ah. See, hear how much more harmonic that sounds? So, people can talk all they want about theory, but then there's the reality of the notes we hear. Okay, so let's go back to what we were doing. And, okay, so that's a power chord. Okay, so now our sus. Okay, so if you see a sustained chord, sus chord, okay, C sus. Okay, if you see a C sus, yeah, okay. Maybe I should have used a different chord. All right, so a C sustained chord, and it's just C sus. It'll be the 4. Now, what's that mean? The 4th degree. Not only is it the 4, but there is no third. If there is a third, this is not a C sus 4. This is a C add 4. If the third is there, you've added the 4th. In order to be a sustain chord, a sus chord, you have no third. Okay, same thing with a sus 2. Now, if it's a sus 2, it says sus 2. If it just says sus, it's a 4. Sometimes it says the 4, sometimes it doesn't. But the sus 2, oh, and I notice on my screen, you can't see the bottom there. Okay, so root 2nd, 5th, root 4th, 5th. You've left the third out. Okay, so now it's the same thing. Why can't I move that? Oh, all right. Okay, well, let's do it this way. I do not know why this moved so far out. Okay. All right, so here we go. Now I've got, oh, look at that. I did not change these. This is a D power chord and a D sus 4 and a D sus 2. All right, I missed that. I'll have to fix that later, but I'm not going to fix it right now. I'm talking. It is, let's see. I can't quite see. I think it's up to 38 minutes and whatever. I know when I did episode 2 without a script, I ran 58 minutes. Whatever. Who's going to listen to that? I don't know. Some people maybe do. Some people aren't until I redo it. But if I get it done, then it's like, okay, I got to redo this. And just 2 weeks go by and I don't do one, and I just got to sit here and get it done. I guess this is how I operate. Okay, so D power chord, exact same thing. You're 5th. first, second, third, fourth, fifth. And since you're starting on the second degree, it's the sixth. It's the second and the sixth degree of the C major scale. But it's a D power chord. Okay, now, sus4, same thing. It's the root, fourth, and the fifth. Root, second, third, fourth, and fifth. D, sus2. Root, second, and fifth. Okay, I think that's that. Now, let's move over to this one. See, and now, I don't know what happened. This worked. See, I had to adjust my screen at the bottom, and now my screen is, well, I guess I'm just going to do that. It just doesn't look like I know what I'm doing, but whatever. Okay, so here we go. And now you can, oh, that's interesting. Okay, so I have to click there for you to see it. Okay, got it. By the way, I'm still learning how to make YouTube content. I'm still learning how to use OBS. This is all fairly new to me. Okay, so now one major chord. We've already seen this. Okay, I'm just going to run through these. We've seen the C major triad and the C major 7. First, third, fifth, seventh. Okay, that is the first, third, fifth, and the seventh of the C major scale. It's also the root, third, fifth, and seventh of the chord. Now we see the 2 minor. It's the same thing. Okay, we've seen this chord. Okay, now we're going to build the next chord off of E. Now this is going to look just like the D minor. The 3 minor is exactly the same. It's a minor third and a major third, and then a minor third. All of your minor chords are exactly like this. There will be 3 half steps and then 4 half steps. The only difference will be their position in the major scale. I'm starting on the third, going to the fifth and the seventh and the second. Now notice that the C major went 1, 3, 5. And then even the 7 is the same. So the only thing that's different between a C major 7, and an E minor triad is you got a C in the root. It's the only thing. So if you play a C major 7 and then play an E, they will sound very consonant. So as you build songs, remember that. Remember, as you're making a song or a melody, it's all about tension and release. You want it to go back and forth between sounding nice, like when I tuned my guitar, and not sounding nice. The not sounding nice makes you want to go home to the resolution where it sounds nice. Okay, enough of that. This is about building chords. So we see it's the exact same thing. Root third, fourth, fifth, minor third, major third, minor third. This is a perfect fifth, this is a minor seventh, this is a minor third. And that makes it a minor chord. Build on the 4th degree. Okay, we're building on the 4th degree. We take our third. Look, when we start from the 4th, our third is now 1, 2, 3, 4 half steps. We're back to a major third. And look, the 5th is still 7 half steps, 4, 5, 6, 7. So which means that the second third is a minor third. So because it starts with a major third, it's major chord. Now, look at this. When you add our 7th, because see, the 1st degree has a leading tone. So when you build it seventh, it's a major seventh chord. The fourth degree also has a leading tone. 1/2 step note, a note that's just 1/2 step behind it. So when you build the seventh, it's a major 11th. It is 11 half steps. Now watch this. This is interesting. Now remember, this is your dominant seventh. A minor dominant seventh doesn't exist. You'll hear people say it, you'll see it written. It's a mistake. It's a misunderstanding. Dominant is the position. Now, this right here is the reason for this misunderstanding. This is a major third. The first third is a major third. First, second, third. So we're going 5, 7. Now remember, when we went from 5 to 7 on the C chord, it was a major. Well, it's still a major. It's the same scale. From G to a B is 4/2 steps. So this is a major chord. However, notice that instead of a major third, minor third, major third, this is a minor third. So this is a minor seventh. This is the only major chord with a minor seventh. This is a G major minor seventh. That's what this is. And so we call it a dominant seventh, because in the 12 keys, when you use just the 12 keys, you never have a chord, a major chord with a minor seventh, except from the 5th position of the scale. Now that can change. I mentioned the Phrygian dominant. That is the 5th, the mode of the 5th degree of the harmonic minor scale, and it turns out that it is the same structure. It's a major chord with a minor seventh. That's why they call it Phrygian dominant. And it is from the 5th degree. So just an interesting side thing, that when you have a 7th note on a minor chord, or a 4th note, it's the 7 note on a minor chord. It is a minor 7. It's not dominant 7. And you might think, well, that's picayune. It's not picayune. Dominant means the position. It means the 5th position. All right. Now we go to the 6th chord. The 6th chord, again, from the 6th scale position, it's 3rd. We're back to C as the 1st degree in the C major scale, and it's a minor 3rd. And then we go to its 5th, which is the 3rd in the C major scale, and that's a major 3rd. So because it starts with a minor 3rd, it's a minor chord. And all 3 of your minor chords, your 2nd minor, your 3rd minor, and your 6th minor, they all have a minor 7th, only 10 half steps, which means it's 2 half steps behind the octave of the root. This is the root, this is its octave. And the whole reason I rewrote every one of these so that I started my scale on the root note of the chord I was building is because it's so important to see this relationship. This is still called the tonic or the root, even though it's an octave up. And so if you're just looking from here to here, you don't see this. And this is really what you hear when you're playing scales, whether it's a leading tone or whether it's a full 2 half steps below. All right, now I believe that's the last one, so I have to move that up to see it well. All right, so this is your 7 diminished chord. Now, what happens here? We have written the scale starting on B, as we've done with all of these. So, first, second, third. It's a minor third. So, it's a minor chord, right? It starts in a minor. Wait a minute. Then from the third, fourth, fifth, look at this. It's another minor third. Now this is an interesting relationship. This is a fifth. The reason this is a fifth is a fifth is not counted by how many half steps because there are different fifths. This is what's called a diminished fifth. It's a fifth because first, second, third, fourth, fifth. It's the fifth position. So it's got to be a fifth. But it's not a perfect fifth because it's not 7 half steps. It's 6 half steps. So it's a diminished fifth. Now, they call 6 half steps a tritone. And all you have to do is play a B and an F together and you'll see why. Now, here's a funny thing. Let's go from F. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh. From B to B, F's right in the middle. From F to F, B is right in the middle. They sound terrible. They're the 2 worst notes. Do you know what 2 notes they leave out in the pentatonic scale? The second. The 4th and the 7th. The 4th and the 7th. In minor, it's the 2nd and 6th. Because minor starts here. So that your 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th. The same 2 notes. Whether it's A minor or C major, pentatonic. The 2 notes left out are B and F. And you'll find that every pentatonic scale, if you look at the scale and figure it out, it's always the 4th and the 7th of the major scale or the 2nd and 6th of the minor scale. It is the tritones. It's the 2 notes that create a tritone. That's what that's called. Now, notice another thing. In spite of being a diminished chord, this is a major 4th. When we go 5th, 6th, 7th, when we take our 7th note, this is a major 4th. So if you add these up, or just go up here, we know from here to here it's 12 half steps. So go back, 11, 10. It's 10 half steps. In spite of being a diminished chord, that's 10 half steps. That's a minor 7th, not a diminished 7th. It wouldn't be, yes. You would probably call it a diminished 7th. I'm not sure I've ever seen a diminished 7th, but of course I have. What they call a fully augmented chord has one note that's not in the scale. It's called non-diatonic. Diatonic means it's in the key. And non-diatonic means it's from a different key. Okay, so if you had a B, D, F, G sharp, or A flat, then you would have a full diminished, what they call full diminished. So they sometimes call this a half diminished. But what it's usually called, now, the reason, okay, so if this is a minor, right? This is a minor third. And this is a minor seventh. Take this and move it up one. Then what would you have? You'd have a major third and a minor third. That would be exactly like your minor chords. So this is a minor 7 with a flat 5, and that's supposed to say minor 7 flat 5. It's like you just flatted the 5. I must have made a mistake there. That's supposed to say minor 7 flat 5. Did I? Oh, okay. All right, moving on. Okay, so now our chords and our intervals. I've talked about the intervals, but this is a visual demonstration. You've got your major third, major third. It's 11 half steps from the C to the B. It's a leading tone. There we go. Oh, did I? Okay, there we go. All right, so I'm going to jump forward to the E chord, and it's a minor 7th, minor, major, minor. The minor and major add up to, did that previous one? Okay. So I think it cut it off. All right, so that was my major 7th. This is my minor 7th. Okay, so the 5th is still, whether it's 3 and 4 or 4 and 3, it still adds up to 7. But then this makes a difference. You have 7 and 3, it's only 10. 7 and 4, your major 7th, 4, 2 and 2 half steps, it's 11, okay? So now our dominant, remember our dominant is a major chord, but it has a minor 7th, and it's sometimes called a flatted 7th, because when you're speaking of a one major chord. So if you took the G major scale, F would be sharped. So sometimes they call it flatted. They compare everything when you talk about a note's flatted or a chord's flatted. They're referring to in reference to the major scale. So in reference to a G major scale, the F is flatted from a sharp down to a natural. Okay, let's look at the next one. Then this is, there you go, minor 7 flat 5. This is a minor 7th. It's 10 half steps to here, but you've got a minor third, minor third. So even though it's 10, you've got a minor third together. So that creates this very unstable sound. It doesn't sound like a minor chord. It sounds like a diminished chord because it's got this tritone in it. Now, that is not my last page. Okay, so this just shows all my intervals. So watch, when I move from C to D flat, it's a minor second. Now, believe it or not, if I went from C to C sharp, that would be called an augmented first or unity. I didn't put that down. Okay, C to D is a major second because it's 2 half steps. Now, what I want you to notice is everything has to be understood in the context of an octave. If a major second is 2 half steps, then what it leaves is a minor 7th of 10 half steps. So now notice the second and the seventh. It adds up to 9. It'll always add up to 9, not 12 or not 7, not 8. Now why? Now why? Think about this, okay? So major, first, second, or first, second, okay? First, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh. Ah, okay. When you go from the octave to the octave, you've got 8 notes, right? However, I went first, second, and then I went first, second. So I counted that D twice. Remember I said it wasn't counting? So when you talk about major second and minor seventh, that pair will always add up to 9. So you have a minor second and a major seventh. You have a major third and a minor sixth. You have a minor third and a major sixth. You have a perfect fourth and a perfect fifth, a perfect fifth and a perfect fourth. Those are the complements, and it's important to understand, especially when you start going down. If I'm going up to my third or my fifth, okay, let's go up to my fifth. 7.5 steps, right? It's a perfect fifth. What if you go down to your fifth? You're not going 7.5 steps. You're going the complement. You're going a perfect fourth. You're going 5.5 steps. Now, notice that if I went down a perfect fifth, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, what I'd find is an F. Why? Because if I go up a perfect fifth, C is the fifth of 7. See, everything is moving up. So when you think it's a circle, so when you go down, boy, when you start working this in your head, that's why, at least for me, understanding the 12.5 steps was critical, because I kept getting mixed up, and then I'd have to write it down, and it'd be like, oh yeah, why? And I couldn't understand. My head wanted to do math, and it's like, well, it doesn't work. Well, it has to work. It has to work. And so I finally figured out how to make it work. They kept telling me there was 8 notes, and there's not. There's 12 notes. There's 12 intervals. That's why I said this is music theory from the beginning. And why did we end up with those specific 7 notes and the octave? Oh, that's the harmonic relationships that existed before anybody figured anything out. They exist in reality. Overtones exist in reality. Every fundamental has overtones. Every tone has overtones. There's no such thing as an undertone. So if you see some mathematical theory that proves that A is a secondary minor of the key of C, that theory is based on undertones. They don't exist in reality. In reality, if A has undertones and they don't exist, what you're really saying is there's a fundamental that A is an overtone of. So you just get back to making the argument that the only fundamental note in the 7 natural notes is C. That is the only fundamental note in those 7 notes. So it's appropriate to call it the key of C. Now you can call it whatever you want. You can use different names. You can call it the key of B Locrian if you want. Okay. One more. So yes, here we go. 4th, 5th, 5th, 4th, and then our tritones. B to F, F to B, Doesn't matter. 6 half steps. This is what matters. Okay? First, second, third, fourth, fifth. But because it's a fifth with only 6 half steps, it's a diminished fifth. Now check this one out. First, second, third, fourth. This isn't a fifth. This is a fourth. Well, a fourth has 5 half steps. So this fourth with 6 half steps is an augmented fourth. It's still a fourth because first, second, third, fourth. That's how many places there are. It's still a fifth. First, second, third, fourth, fifth, because that's how many places there are. But this is one bigger than a perfect fourth, and this is one smaller than a perfect fifth. They're both the same size, but they're not the same okay, this is where you have to be careful. I was about to say it. Not the same interval. You know what I was about to say. 6 half steps is the exact same interval. You can play it all day long and it'll sound exactly the same. What's different is the description, what changes. And that is important when we're talking the notes, because this is the fourth. B is the fourth of F, but F is the fifth of B. It's going to take a while to get those straight in your head. But that's why you try to get it simple so that you can do it in your head, and then you're playing on your guitar and you go to bed trying to figure it out, and you do that 1,000 times, and after 6 months or 2 years, man, you can just throw these intervals and these notes and these chords around all over the place, because there's only 12 of them, and eventually, with enough practice, you'll get these and understand them. And yes, it can help, and I will get there. I will make a video to get there. But I have to get these basic ones done first, and then I have to redo these basic. Well, I don't have to redo. I'm just going to keep doing more. All right, so let's see. That's the last one there. Okay, one more. Oh shoot. I'm over an hour. Bummer. All right, well, whatever, right? Whatever. I don't know. I don't think anybody's going to watch this. But at least I got it done. Oh, this has got no header on it because I didn't have room. All right. So these are all, this is just the overview of all the chords in the key of C. I've got 2 octaves here, so you can see what's really going on. Like if you were going to play on a piano, on a guitar, if C is the fundamental note, and you go up to B, major, minor, major thirds, everything we've talked about. Here's your 4 half steps, 3 half steps, 4 half steps, everything we talked about. Okay, here's your major scale pattern, 2-2-1, 2-2-2-1. Okay, and then it repeats 2-2-1, 2-2-2-1. Okay, you can see right here there's a Roman numeral 1. That's the 1 chord. Lowercase 2, 2 minor, 3 minor, 4 major, 5 major, 6 minor, 7 diminished. Okay, we've seen all this. So, but now you see them laid out in relative spacing. This is what the chords that you hear actually look like if they're laid out according to their relative positions. This is 2 octaves. Again, it's 2 octaves. So C is my fundamental, I go up to here. But if D is my fundamental, I'm going up to my first octave. Now watch, my 3 minor chord, E is my fundamental. To go up to my 7th degree, I'm into my next octave. You can't actually make an E minor 7 chord without going into the next octave. Otherwise, the D would be in the lowest note, and they call those a slash chord. You could make it on a guitar especially, and they would call it E minor 7 slash D, because D would be the lowest note. Okay, so if it's a normal E minor 7, the D is in the next octave up. And you can see every single chord from there is going into this second octave to build its key, its chord. Because when you're building this A minor chord, this is the second to the last note in that first octave. So all its notes are into the second octave. There's the second octave. Its first note is the second octave, and is the root of the second octave, right? And then E and G. And of course, this, the B minor 7 flat 5, the B half diminished. So I wanted this to be able to be seen. Now here's the overview of the major chords. Now this makes it very easy to see your major 7th and your minor 7th. Everything else is the same, right? You've got a perfect 7th, or a perfect 5th, 7 half steps. And when you go up to the octave, it's a perfect 4th, it's complement, 5 half steps. 5 and 4 is 9, 7 and 5 is 12. The half steps add up to 12. The position numbers add up to 9. Always. So you can just do this math and start just throwing these things around in your mind. If you get all these things down. Now, okay, so you've got your major, minor, major, major, minor, major, major, minor, minor. Okay, so now you can see them right next to each other. These are the minor chords. You see, these are all exactly the same, other than the fact that they're shifted in position within this 2 octave spread. Minor, major, minor, all 3 of them. Perfect 5th, all 3 of them. And of course the complement is the perfect 4th. Minor 7th, all 3 of them. And of course your octave is your 12 half steps. Okay? Diminished chord in the key of C. Here is your diminished chord right here. Now, I had space on the paper, so I thought that I would show you a major chord and a minor chord. So this is your 5 chord, your 6 chord, and your 7 chord. 5's a major, but look at this. It's got a minor 7th. Now this is your minor chord. They all have a minor 7th. 2, 3, and 6 all have a minor 7th, and your diminished, diatonic diminished chord. So if it's got the 4th note, they refer to it as either half diminished or as a minor 7 flat 5, because that's exactly what it is. You take a minor 7th chord and flat the 5, and you have this chord. You have a minor 3rd, major 3rd. And notice that it's 5th, unlike the perfect 5th of 7 half steps. You have a diminished 5th of 6 half steps, and its complement is the augmented 4th, also 6 half steps. All right. And this is the extensions. I said intervals. Intervals, I've already shown this. Really what this is extensions. Okay, so we see our minor 2nd, major 7th, I didn't show the minor seventh. This is just the major intervals. The intervals in a major key or a major scale. It's got a minor second, and its complement would be a minor seventh. And the major third, minor sixth, perfect fourth, perfect fifth. Okay, we've gone over those. Oh, there's your minor second. Okay, and of course your diminished fifth and your augmented fourth. Here's what we haven't gone over. Okay, so our extended chords. Okay, if you see a chord that says add 9 or just 9, this is what it means. First, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth. Remember, 8, you're starting over again. That's really your 1. So 9 is your 2. Next octave up. 9, 10, 11. That's your fourth note or chord. Next octave up. 12, 13. Okay. That's your 6. Next octave up. So that's all your extensions are. 9, 11, and 13 is you've added those notes. You've added a 2, 4, or 6 the next octave up. Now, normally, if you were talking about a piano or an orchestra, there are rules. A 9 chord would always have the 7. An 11 would have 7, 9, 11. 13, 7, 9, 11, 13. We don't do that on the guitar. If you only add the 9, it's supposed to be an add 9 chord. So E add 9, whatever, C add 9, or C7 add 9. Well, let's see. Now if I add 7 in it, you don't have to add the 9. You don't have to say add 9 if you could put it in. See, now it's okay to leave out the 5th because that doesn't determine the chord. It's the 3 that determines if it's a major or minor chord. So if you have the 1, 3, 7, 9, that is technically a 9 chord. But on guitar, so if you're leaving out the 7, if you're just putting in the 9 or the 11 or the 13, technically it's an add. They won't always say that. On a guitar, we pretty much always just play an add 9 or an add 11 or an add 13. Now, when you're talking about jazz, it's a whole nother ball of wax. Or you're talking about classical, because there are arpeggiating chords, so they can create chords a lot more like a piano. Just, okay, so that's the whole ball of wax. I went over it rather quickly and rather slowly, if that makes sense. Very, very rambling. I'm up to almost an hour and 20 minutes. And yet I didn't cover as thoroughly as I will when I write a script and do this in half the time with more information. And I didn't show you much on the guitar. There's a whole bunch. I mean, from here, if we take this information and put it on the guitar, that's basically 99.9% of someone's guitar journey. This information applied on the guitar is how you become B.B. King or Eric Clapton or whomever. That's what it's all about. Now, whether they can intellectually tell you how they're putting this on the guitar or not makes no difference. This is what they're doing on those strings. And I can show you. I can't play like Eric Clapton or B.B. King, but I can show you. All right. So, till next time, I'm done.